Welcome back, Dallas ISD. It's the most wonderful time of the year. The time when we can all come back and celebrate together. And it is my honor to say, welcome back. Give yourselves a hand. So my name is Sharon Quinn, and I am the proud Deputy Chief for School Leadership, and my partner, Ms. Jolie Healy, is also in the building. Let's give her a hand. Jolie, would you wave to us? And we'll be introducing other people along the way, but it is now my pleasure to present to most and introduce to some our fearless leader. Now, you know he has to love Dallas ISD quite a bit because he's been a student in Dallas ISD. He was a teacher in Dallas ISD, a parent in Dallas ISD. Did you guys know that? Yeah, you knew that? Okay. He served as superintendent the first time from 2005 to 2011, and he thought he wanted to get away, but we wouldn't turn him loose. We loved him just that much, right? He got homesick, and he came back in 2015. And now, our twice superintendent, please join me in welcoming the amazing Dr. Michael Hinojosa.
Good morning, Dallas ISD. Chief Elizalde finally got smart because you know how every time she introduced me, I pick on her. So Dr. Quinn, and now it's your turn. I'm glad you learned how to follow directives. You don't follow directives, you can get fired for that. But let me tell you, welcome back. I know that you never really leave. I know when you're off duty, you drive by your school and see how high the grass is, right? And you worry about who's going to be calling you because Big Papa's going to be riding around the neighborhood. So, oh well, none of us are perfect. We all learn. But I tell you what, it is very inspiring about where we are right now. This is a big year for us. 2020 is a big year. I had some goals. I had 4 things I wanted to accomplish by 2020. Now, I don't know how long I'm going to keep working, but by 2020, I wanted to accomplish 4 major things. One of the things I wanted to accomplish was to have a succession plan in case a dart bus ran over me, and I failed at that. I haven't been able to completely define a succession plan. Second thing I wanted to accomplish by 2020, and this year will bump us into 2020. You know that, right? Yeah, milestones are important. Second thing I wanted to accomplish is to modernize the schools. And so we're making a lot of progress. So in the summertime, I do drive around, and I'm very pleased that we're going to start modernizing, and many of our high schools are getting a major facelift. You know, I am excited that we're making progress, but we're not going to be able to finish it by 2020. But by 2020, we're also going to go back to the community for a huge bond election so that we can have the resources to finish modernizing the entire district. So I feel pretty good about that goal. Also, wanted to make sure we have no IR schools by 2020. Now, it's possible, but I'm a little worried. This year we made a lot of progress. I think when the scorecard comes out in about 3 weeks, the district is going to improve significantly. I mean, when you're already a B district, we're going to improve by all of our estimations. And while we've gotten a lot of schools out of IR, we're very good at getting schools out of IR. But the game changes now. It's no longer IR. It's the scarlet letter. It's an F. And we can still make it. That next year we'll have no IR schools. We're not going to make it this year. So we really got to double down. We do a great job of getting the schools out, but unfortunately we still let schools slide. And we're all responsible for that. So that's another goal I want to accomplish by next year. The other thing I wanted to accomplish is to be able to stick around until cohort 1 of the collegiate academies actually graduated. And we're going to be there. Those kids are now seniors, and they're going to be finishing the finish line. And I'm pretty nimble. A DART bus is not going to run over me. Now, Dr. Lear tries to push me in front of a DART train, so I have to watch her. But I just got to be leery around the tracks. But I think I'm very excited about that, and especially at the school where we're in, the progress that they're making at Conrad with cohort 1, with how many kids are actually going to cross the finish line with an associate's degree. And all of our cohort 1 schools are doing very well with that initiative, and our cohort 2 schools are doing well, and they'll be graduating next year. So let me tell you this is what's amazing, that nobody really realized it when we launched this journey way back in 2015 or 16. It was very embarrassing when people come up to me and say, Hosa, 15% of your kids get some kind of credential 6 years after they graduate from high school. Now, we're not talking about the Dalton Shermans of the world or the kids, they're a part of that, and they're going to do it. But that was very embarrassing for me to be people to tell me that. But let me tell you how that's going to change. By 2021, it's very reasonable that we could have 20% of our students graduating with an associate's degree before they leave high school. That hasn't happened anywhere in America. And we're going to be the ones to do it, because it is now a reality. It's no longer a gleam in somebody's eye. With all of your efforts of everybody working together, we're going to make that happen. I'm very confident that we'll accomplish that goal by 2021. We're very close. I'm also very excited about the theme, Inspire. Who do you inspire? Inspire what? You inspire people. And me, my job is easier than your job, because I just deal with big people. As a principal, you deal with big people and little people all at the same time. And your job is to inspire people. So the theme of inspiration is an opportunity that we have. What's the second theme up there? Create. A lot of people worry about the future. I don't. I'm always excited about the future. Why? Because the only way you can control the future is to create it. And that's what we're doing. We're creating our future with the things that we're putting together. And what's the third word on the theme? Lead. You lead people. You manage things. If you can't manage, you won't be in this room. If you can't manage your budget, if you can't manage your master schedule, if you can't manage transportation, you're not even going to be in this room. But the important thing is leading. And you lead other people to create the future for the kids in an inspirational way. So that's what you're going to be working on to make all of this work a reality. So, my biggest failure in my career was in 2008. I had to lay off 1,000 teachers in October. Wow. No money was missing, no money was stolen. We just had hired too many people, and we didn't have proper controls. It's amazing that this school board was dumb enough to hire me back after that mistake. But they did. And so we started the remedy, because it wasn't rocket science. We just needed to lay off those people. By the way, we rehired 600 of them the rest of that year so that we could correct our resources. Our fund balance at the end of that year was $28 million. At the end of this fiscal year, on June 30th, 2019, our fund balance is going to be over $500 million, over $500 million. Let me tell you why that is so important. The community stepped up and passed a tax ratification election. 3 times I tried to take it to the board, and I failed first time, strike 1. I failed the second time, strike 2. They finally passed it on the 3rd time, and our community with the supermajority passed it, and they gave us resources, and we're not spending all those resources. And then we went down to the legislature and we fought hard, and the legislature listened to us and they helped us. 2 years ago, I went to the legislature. They told me they didn't need to they didn't have to negotiate with me. Take your little big papa self and go home. This time, they listened and they helped, believe it or not. I think they were scared of Beto O'Rourke, but it doesn't matter why. At least they helped. Those 2 things put together give us $500 million that we're going to slowly start drawing down. So the next 5 years, we don't have to fuss and fight about how we're going to fund our schools, how we're going to take care of our employees, how we're going to fund our strategic initiatives. We've got a plan, we've got resources, and we just got to go execute. And we follow those 3 things, we can make it happen. Now, in addition to that, because we wanted to fund the strategic initiatives, y'all know what they are: public school choice, strategic compensation, obviously early childhood education. Collegiate academies were a strategic initiative, but now they're baked into our DNA, and they're not going away, because we don't necessarily need new money unless we expand to Irving and Skyline and whoever else wants it. So that's the only time we need new money for our collegiate academies. Racial equity, though, is another thing that we got to fund. And we are now looking, and it's a new strategic initiative, and now we're looking at everything through a racial equity lens. Because we do still have student groups who are not as performing as well as all of our students. And you need to prioritize and put the money there. So we ended up with an additional $77 million new dollars that the legislature gave us that we could fund on top of our strategic initiatives. So what did we choose to fund? You going to hear about one of those? I'm very proud of our high schools, because very few places in America are high schools in good shape. But because of the high tides raise all boats, our collegiate academies and what our high schools are doing, where now all of our high schools are in pretty good shape. It used to just be our magnet high schools. But now all of our high schools are moving in a very positive direction. Our elementary schools, because of our pre-K initiative and because of a lot of other things, have been doing pretty good. But where our biggest struggle had been and where we're losing kids was in the middle. So AIM, Achieving in the Middle, is a huge initiative, $10 million of new money to make sure that our middle schools, at our most struggling middle schools, have new resources. Now, the expectations are going to be very high because you got to deliver. But now we're going to give you the resources to make it happen. And you're going to be hearing a lot about that. You've hired for that. You're planning for that. You're staffing for that. But the expectations are going to be huge. But we started with, how many, Stephanie? 19 or 21 middle schools? 21 middle schools. When we looked at the performance of those middle schools, we have a student group that was struggling. And that's one of the reasons that we put the money there. I'm a little disappointed this summer that we have another initiative called CAP, Creating Accelerated Performance. We looked at transition year kids that were not doing real well, and we wanted to fund an opportunity for them to come in this summer and stay with great teachers on Saturdays all year long. I'm disappointed at the turnout of students, but I'm not disappointed in the initiative. Maybe we need to pivot a little bit, but that's putting our resources where our biggest need is. ACE is nothing but racial equity, because in our schools that were struggling the most, by the way, same neighborhoods, same parents, same kids, we bring in a strong principal and great teachers, and the performance accelerates. And it's proven over and over and over. Sometimes we don't leave the resources there long enough, and we have a little backsliding. What happens when you don't go to church on Sunday? You start backsliding. Okay, we got to go fix that. More church. And then during the week, we're going to church's chicken, so we're going to be good. We're going to have it covered. So you always respond to your data. If you think about this, the great James Madison High School, South Oak Cliff High School, Pinkston High School. We used to not have a lot of kids that wanted to go there. Now, that has completely changed. Their performance has changed. They're on the rise at all three of those high schools. So the collegiate academies, the P-TECs, have helped launch that. We also have something else coming called Career Institutes that's going to be spread into every high school. Because the one criticism we got about P-TEC is what the rest of the kids say, what about us? What about us? So we got to, through the Dallas County Promise and the Career Institutes, we got to take care of the rest of the students too. That's about equity, and that's about putting resources where you can make the biggest difference. But one of the things that we also got funded was the LEAD program. And y'all think your Chief Elizalde is tough, but I'm on her like a cheap suit every day, right? 5 times a day. She's tough, because she gotta be. But when I came back, I had to get a pictorial directory of the principals, because only 25% of the principals that were here with me before were around. And then even last year, we had 62 campuses that had a new face. And a lot of those faces, we were just kind of struggling. And some of those people that we hired struggled. And some of them didn't make it. I'm amazed this year with Jolie Healy and Stephanie Elizalde at the quality of the lead principals that have come through that I've been able to hire this year. And also we have some great partners. Teaching Trust has been outstanding in helping us get the kind of people that are going to be ready to handle the huge challenges that you have out there. So this year we have about half that number of new principals. And they're much better prepared to take on the challenges that we face. So I'm excited about that. You know, it's sometimes when you take on a challenge, it's personal. And, you know, like I tell you every time I meet with you, I'm proud that I grew up in Oak Cliff. But sometimes people have low expectations of you, and I've had to fight that stereotype my whole life. you know. And so, but now we are putting systems together and people, and now we're being held accountable for our work. And I'm very proud of the work that we've done. It's been amazing recently, and we've been getting recognized by Forbes magazine. We were quoted in The Economist. We got Bloomberg Philanthropies, we got the IFL, we got the Gates Foundation. All these people are knocking at our doors like they didn't believe we could do it. What's the matter? ¿Qué pues ese? Come on, dude. We can do this. But it takes disciplined people with disciplined thought. They can discipline action and being here for the long haul. And that's why I'm very excited about some of our initiatives that take a long time, but now they're paying off. It takes a long time for early childhood to finally get you the results. It takes a long time for SEL to grow roots and get deep. We've seen evidence of it with our choice schools. We've seen evidence with our ACE schools. We need to see evidence everywhere. And there are no shortcuts. Yes, you can get some quick gains and get early victories, but if you don't believe in the whole child, there are not going to be any shortcuts. And one of the things I'm most excited about, and you guys have exceeded the expectation, is having all these kids involved in extracurricular activities. And now we have to make it more rigorous, because now it's just no longer about being in an activity. Now it's got to be meaningful and robust. But I think the longer we keep working on all these tools for the long haul is when we're going to continue to defy the odds, and we're going to continue to take away the excuses. But you do make me proud to be fortunate enough to stand up here in front of you. This year, probably my biggest worry, because we've been able to mitigate it. We've been able to mitigate it through hard work, smarts, muscle, but I still worry about one thing. And by the way, if we keep losing kids, we're going to be okay for a little while, for at least 5 years. Because believe it or not, even in our budget plans, we're counting on losing 2,000 kids. And we'll still have money for 5 years. But you can't exist this way. And so our recruitment and retention efforts of our students, sometimes they make bad decisions for the wrong reasons when they go somewhere else. And this is not a phenomenon that's unique to us. Every large urban district in Texas lost 1,000 kids last year. We lost 1,600. And it's no longer the birth rate bubble. It's gentrification, it's charter schools, and it's other options. But we have got to figure out how we accomplish that. And let me tell you, and I know I'll get in trouble for singling out a few schools. But the art of the possible is always there. And there are some schools that I used to worry about that I don't worry about anymore. I drove by one of them the other day. I used to always worry about E.D. Walker. I'm not worried about E.D. Walker anymore. Their performance, how they're attracting their neighborhoods, how they're being innovative. Transformation is for small groups of people that want to do that. Innovation is for any campus that wants to step up and make their school special. We now have the tools, we have the resources to help you and support you in making that happen. So if individual schools can figure out how to do it, what I expect is that we figure out how to do that for the whole system. Because I'm not just responsible for one school. I'm responsible for all of you, good, bad, or indifferent. And we all collectively need to step up and deliver for our parents, our students, and our community. It's been a great run. And we just started, baby. We just started in this thing. So we have a lot of ramp room. We have a lot of opportunity for growth. But I think this is going to be a really pivotal year because now we have stability. And now we can deliver on that promise and where we don't have to make exceptions of the Sox or the Pinkstons or the Madisons. Now we can say that about our whole system as we go forward. So thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your commitment. I know it's going to be a great year. I like those milestone years, 2020. That's where we're going to be next year. I anticipate, oh, by the way, next year we're probably going to bring, I told my team, get ready. I like to have a convocation about every 5 years. 2015 was the last time. 2020, y'all get ready because we're going to have a great celebration at this time next year. Let's have a great year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Hinojosa, for your inspiration, creativity, leadership, but I think most of all, we love your comedy. So we've heard from our leader of leaders, and now it's time for just one of the most exciting moments. I met her this morning. She's amazing, and it's time to hear from one of our student leaders. And in the words of R&B singer Montel Jordan, this is why we do it. We're here because of young ladies like this. We're here because of the students. And so we're going to hear from Miss Yasira King, an upcoming 5th grade student at William Brown Miller Elementary. Now, yes. Yasira won the 2019 Dallas ISD Martin Luther King Oratory Contest, and this morning she's going to bring to us her perspective on what makes an extraordinary leader. Please help me welcome Miss Yasira King.
Warren G. Bennett said, "Excellent and exceptional leadership is the capacity to translate vision into reality." Greetings. My name is Yasira King, and I just turned 10 about 2 weeks ago. As I thought about my purpose for being here today, I began to feel a little intimidated. After all, what could I say to you about what makes a great principal and assistant principal? Well, you can get many different answers to that question depending on who you ask. So I would like to take this time to thank Dallas ISD school leadership for inviting me, a 10-year-old future 5th grader, to give my perspective about what makes an extraordinary leader. Do you remember when you were in grade school and there were children who wore glasses? You may have been one of them. Do you remember the special name for them? 4 eyes. You remember. Whoa, I bet you can see the future with those on. Can you see the solar system with those glasses? Those are so thick, you can see your grandkids. These are all different ways to tease, but they still have one common premise. When you have 4 eyes, your vision intensifies. I would like to speak to you today about 2 concepts of 4-eyed leadership. The first abstract idea of 4 eyes as it relates to leadership is knowing we have our natural pair of eyes and our supernatural pair of eyes. Most people go through their entire lives just using their physical eyes, so they only see the tangible things. But I believe great leaders must also use their spiritual eyes so they can see the intangible. These supernatural glasses that great leaders must wear are made of special lenses. 20% is made up of reflective material, like a mirror. That allows you to evaluate yourselves, celebrate the successes, identify and work on the struggles. And leaders, do not forget about self-care. You cannot serve others from an empty vessel. The other 80% is made of transparent material, like a window. I think great leaders spend a lot of time in front of a window because they look beyond themselves to see the needs and concerns of others. Extraordinary leadership requires extraordinary vision. When you look around, what do you see? Yes, you do see the problem, but great leaders also see purpose, potential, possibilities, priorities, and progress. The second leadership concept of 4 I's is intention, inspiration, innovation, and impact. The first I is intention. When you are the captain and co-captain of a ship, you must be intentional about the direction you are going so you can reach the designated destination. You will experience some calm waters, but you will also encounter some rough seas. Just remember, your crew of teachers and staffs, your passengers of students and their families are depending on you. Stay on course, no pressure. The second I is inspiration, which is defined as the power to move and motivate others, to make them feel enthusiastic and excited about something. As leaders in your school, inspire your teachers by acknowledging them. Let them see that you support their continuous efforts, not just the successful outcomes. Then your teachers and staff will inspire the students, and the students will go home and inspire their families. Inspiration is a constant cycle of reciprocity. Once you receive it, you cannot help but give it. The third I is innovation. This means creating new ideas and methods to solve issues. What worked in schools when you were students may not work for me and my peers. So much has changed. The world is different. Family dynamics are different. Our food is different. Our social and technological influences are different. And our natural and artificial environments are different. Steve Jobs said, "The difference between leaders and great leaders is innovation, because innovation is the ability to see change as opportunity, not as a threat." The fourth I is impact, which means to leave a strong imprint and impression on someone or something. You have the power and to positively impact every person and position. Great leadership is about making others better because of your presence and making sure that impact lasts even in your absence. Remember, the whole world is a classroom. If you educate the mind without educating the heart, you are missing half the lesson. What will truly impact the lives of your teachers, students, is the life you give to your schools. So, my beloved leaders, as you begin this next school year, think of me. Think of your teachers, staff, students, and think of yourselves, your purpose. With excitement and enthusiasm, take off and fly. when parent participation decreases and discipline problems increase, land on the road and run. When testing starts and tension seems high, slow down and walk. When the final reports come in, you may have to get on your hands and knees and crawl. But whatever you do, always use your 4 eyes. Whatever you do, remember your 4 eyes. Whatever you do, never, ever stop moving forward. Thank you.
Wow. Dr. Hinojosa, look out. She's coming for you. 10 years old? Really? I don't believe it one moment. Mr. and Mrs. King, would you please stand? Let's give the parents a round of applause. Principal Hudson, are you in the room? Let's give her a hand. Wow. Well, we know that you have a very bright future, Miss Yasira. We know that. So we're excited to have with us some friends who are going to help us launch our 1-year-long epic journey. Our friends from Teaching Trust. So next to take the stage this morning are 2 representatives who we have certainly come to respect and trust. Marvin Smith, Patrick Ha from Teaching Trust. Would you please come and give us your words of inspiration, creativity, and leadership?
Just making a note here to never follow Miss King. Very strategic in the lineup, I can tell. But let's give it up again for Yasira. Talk about extraordinary. That was amazing, thank you. I'm Patrick Ha, CEO of Teaching Trust. There's an incredible amount of energy in the room today, and I am proud and want to express pride and gratitude on behalf of the entire Teaching Trust team to be here with all of you wonderful people. This is a truly exciting moment as we kick off this groundbreaking partnership between Teaching Trust and Dallas ISD. We are particularly excited about being able to be a part of the summer intensive happening in DISD campuses over the next 3 days. Very exciting. Teaching Trust is an organization that exists to fuel great schools through a focus on building leadership capacity at all levels within and across schools and the district. We are particularly focused on making sure that all students have the best educational opportunities, particularly students of color and low-income students. We are exceedingly grateful for the last 9 years of partnership that we've had with Dallas ISD. This partnership has fueled so much learning and so much impact. It has enabled us as Teaching Trust to collaborate with you, the visionary and inspiring community of leaders at the school level and at the district level, who are quickly making a name for this district as a national leader in school transformation. I would just like to take a few moments to express gratitude to a few folks who have been particularly instrumental to this work. First off, Superintendent Hinojosa. You have been instrumental in making Teaching Trust happen and our partnership with Dallas ISD happen in both of your tours leading Dallas ISD. We are proud to be a part of the district's surging growth and improvement, which is nothing short of extraordinary. Dr. Quinn, we are excited about your involvement in this work. It is making our work better. Stephanie Elizalde, from the first day I met you in your role as an executive director, it was clear that you were focused on and committed to the success of your school's leaders and students. And I'd be lying if I wasn't a little bit intimidated by you. Coming from Chicago and New York, I thought I had seen them all, but a fierce, dedicated leader. So I was, absolutely. So I was thrilled when we met, and I think your first day in your new role as a senior leader in the district, and you spent the better part of a half an hour talking about the importance of school leadership and the importance of maximizing the then budding partnership between Teaching Trust and Dallas ISD. At that moment, I knew this was a game changer, and I knew we were headed for really bright and powerful things, and that has been the absolute truth. Thank you so much. Since then, you've been an honest broker, a trusted partner, and a friend. And after 20 years in this business, in this work, I can tell you that's something very special and something that I cherish. Jolie Healy and Monet Harris, thank you for your trust, your support, your collaboration. You have been with us since the early days of Teaching Trust, back when you were executive directors. We have learned so much from your leadership, your vision, and your dedication to educational equity. It is not hyperbole when I say that we would not be here without you. You've allowed us into your work, and we've collaborated in the most meaningful way, co-creating experiences for leaders across the district, which I know will become a national model for how you develop outstanding leaders, outstanding teams, and outstanding schools. Thank you. We are humbled, we are proud, and we are thrilled to be taking this big step together with the entirety of the amazing community of leaders here in Dallas ISD. We look forward to working alongside you, with you, as you drive for even greater impact. I would now like to introduce Marvin Smith, who leads Teaching Trust External Affairs, for a few words. Marvin.
Thank you, Patrick. Just want to invite everyone to give an applause for Yasira King here for her powerful lessons on leadership. You talked about how great leaders make others better with their presence, and I think you've certainly done that here today. So thank you so much. I feel a need just to pause for a moment and smile to be fully present here with all of you today. It's my profound privilege to be in the presence of leaders across this district, collectively responsible for the education of more than 155,000 students in this city. Good morning, buenos dias a todos. My name is Marvin Smith, and I have the pleasure of serving as Teaching Trust's Chief External Officer. As a more recent transplant to Dallas, I must say the collaborative efforts to pour into our public school system here under such aligned district leadership would make many other cities envious. I think my colleagues on the External Affairs team would agree when I say how much of a joy it is to be tasked with building awareness of this story of rising achievement and educational opportunities for students in Dallas, and cultivating mutually beneficial relationships and investments that further the leadership development programs for various types of public schools. It's truly fulfilling work to showcase the growth and outcomes for kids across the city. That is unfinished, I might add. When we talk with partners and funders, some of whom are here with us in the room today. The LEAD program represents a different scale of partnership and collaboration between Dallas ISD and Teaching Trust. We are co-creating content with our partners in Jolie Healy and Monet Harris to build and refine a scope and sequence that enables the rich customization of programming that brings us closer to you, the leaders and educators in the room today, just as we as an organization are seeking to get closer to the communities in which we have the privilege in working with every day, the beautiful and resilient communities where we work. And I have to tell all of you, our team at Teaching Trust, those in this room and those staff across our organization whose work is integral to our growth and the success of our programs across all of our district partnerships, are so ready to get this collaboration underway. I'd like to ask those Teaching Trust staff here today who are working on the LEAD programming this year to please stand and be recognized. We are so proud of this team assembled and want to make sure all of you in this room know just how much of an investment Teaching Trust is making and working alongside you and supporting your development. Thank you to our fearless leaders at Dallas ISD for all the work you do daily for our kids, nuestras familias. Teaching Trust is thrilled to take this journey with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Marvin and Patrick. Let's give them one more round of applause. We are so looking forward to our year-long journey of learning with Teaching Trust. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce my boss. The S stands for super. The E stands for exceptional. Stephanie Elizalde. Let's give her a round of applause as she comes.
So I already made a note, sir. We will now have a podium that has a shelf that will hold the water bottle. Good morning, Dallas ISD. Good morning. It is truly an honor, and I'm humbled to be able to be here with you today and to really kind of get us going this morning before we go into some smaller working groups. I also want to take a moment to thank Jasira and her parents. What a wonderful way to inspire us on why we do this work. Thank you so much. And thank you for having trust in Dallas ISD to send Jasira to William Brown Miller with Miss Nikki Hudson. You could choose to go anywhere else, and thank you for choosing Dallas ISD. Now, in case you're looking at your program, you're like, 9:15, we were supposed to be moving. That's right, we're running behind. Nothing worse than putting Stephanie Elizalde in front of a microphone when you are short on time. You're not supposed to laugh that loudly, but okay. And I'm now gonna be proud to wear glasses now that I've been inspired by Jasira, 4 eyes. And it's as if we had worked together truly in some of the work that we're gonna touch on this morning. I also wanna take a moment to thank Dr. Hinojosa for leading us through all of this work. We have accomplished much, but we would not be where we are today if he had not answered the second call to come back to Dallas ISD, because we all know he came not because he had to, more importantly, because he wanted to. Thank you, sir. I also want to take a moment to thank Teaching Trust. I know it sounds like a regular Chamber of Commerce meeting where we're all thanking everybody for being great, but I would still be remiss if I did not point out Ellen Wood over there. Please stand, Ellen. And Patrick, believe it or not, I was a little intimidated by Ellen the first time I met her because her energy is nonstop and her optimism on how we always see things through a positive lens is truly inspirational. Thank you, Ellen. And again, thank you to Teaching Trust. And last week, principals. We got to kick off with Dr. Durant's teaching and learning team. Elizabeth Casas led phenomenal work with focus on our special populations. Let's give them a round of applause for teaching and learning. Do you feel the energy in the room, upper deck over there? Do we hear that? Feel that energy? I see Gail Dupree and Miriam Willard up there. All right, so I'm so excited to be here. This is the first time we've tried this. We've brought all our executive directors together. Executive directors, you know, no one's happy with an executive director. I know I've been in that spot. And they didn't know what else to do with me, so they promoted me. So, executive directors and school leadership, please stand, because all of us tug on you. Please stand. So we got executive directors, we got principals in the house. And we brought assistant principals in the house. And last but not least, our instructional lead coaches are also in the house. Dr. Hinojosa talked about enthusiasm. He used to do this little, he hasn't done it in a while, where he does his Eeyore. Nobody wants to work for Eeyore. Hee-haw, hello. I'm not as funny as he is, but I'm working on it. And then he's like, how about Tigger? Here we go, everybody's bouncing around, and then we have to like calm down a little bit. But wouldn't you rather work for a Tigger than have to work for an Eeyore? And so enthusiasm is what's gonna make us continue the work, especially when it gets a little tough. So let's talk about some of the data pieces that are really important. And there's two types of data, Dr. Hinojosa always reminds me, and the quantitative data we're always looking at. And it makes the connection to Jasira's talk earlier today. Because numbers are important, the milestones are important, but we should never forget about the qualitative data about how people feel. We are going to accomplish this work through our hearts, not just through our minds. But the data are how we are measured. So we can't ignore it, but we should ensure that we're not singling it out. Looking at this particular slide, this is your effort. You can see that Dallas ISD, and we don't have our final results yet, maybe somewhere around between August 7th and the 14th, we'll get the final numbers. But Dallas ISD, which serves at least 88% economically disadvantaged students, has had the highest growth in academic achievement in all areas, in all grades. This is your work, and it's paying off. And we still have work to do. So let's have a little look at whether we're actually closing some gaps. If you look at this slide, we are improving in all groups, and we are closing, narrowing the gaps, but the gaps still exist. We cannot deny that the gaps still exist. So we celebrate the growth, and we focus on how we're going to do even better. This slide is particularly troubling for, I would say, all of us in this room, and I want us to take a minute to just look at what this is actually saying. So what you see here is the very top line. If you are of a family that's in the top quartile of earnings, you almost double the college attainment rate. Okay, that's great. But the lowest group, the lowest economic group, has had a 3% increase in college attainment. Now, this is a national picture, but sadly, our picture isn't much different. But if there is a place that's making a difference, it's you in Dallas ISD. But this is the why. This is the heart that Jasira spoke of. Why? This leads to the Matthew effect of the rich get richer, and you all finish. How can we say we're okay with that? We can't be, and I know you're not. So when we talk about equity in Dallas ISD, when Dr. Hinojosa calls us to action, it is all of the things that we're doing. But always we must ask ourselves, are we serving our kids to ensure that they can reach the same level as the highest earning income students? That's the bar. It's not about making excuses. Why is college attainment important? And I'm going to say, a lot of times, and it's important to have other options. Absolutely, it's important to have career institutes and vocational programs that lead to living wages. However, I also challenge us not to use that as, well, not every kid's going to college. Because the people who say not every kid is going to college are the parents whose kids are going to college. Just like the people that say money doesn't matter are the people that have the money. Now, let's keep it real. So, I ask us, if kids truly choose as young adults to not go to college, that's great, if it's truly their choice. But it's only a choice if they're prepared for college and they choose not to go. We're choosing for them if we're not preparing them. Let us ensure that every single student is prepared for college. Then it really is a choice. And while we are not succeeding yet, we're moving in the right direction on this slide in Dallas ISD. But let's remember, we're going to fail every day. But we're only failures when we begin to blame others. Let's be empowered to be the change. So let's talk about leadership quickly, because I know Ms. Healy's giving me the eye of, hurry up, we're going to be late. Look at all of our strategic initiatives that our district has. We've got TEI, and many of you recall we were in TEI training just yesterday. The Teacher Excellence Initiative, ladies and gentlemen, that is the core of our work. It is what springboarded us to being able to identify our best teachers and to reward them. It is the cornerstone. We cannot take that training lightly. But more importantly than doing a spot observation is about how we coach our teachers. So good leaders start by training themselves and growing themselves. Great leaders then begin to allow others to lead. So let's make sure that that coaching component is a critical area of TEI. We had then ACE in our strategic staffing, taking our teachers that had the best outcomes and placing them in schools where our students needed them the most. We have early learning, as Dr. Hinojosa alluded to earlier. It takes a while for us to see those improvements, but we have to begin. So early learning is in all of our schools with a focus on the coaching and the teaching and the materials that are appropriate for those early grades. School choice in our Office of Transformation and Innovation, led by Dr. Brian Lusk, offering us more opportunities to innovate at the campuses. Our collegiate academies and P-TECH, and of course, our latest, Achieving in the Middle, ensuring that our middle schools get what they need. We know it's been long overdue. But all of this is about leading, leader excellence, advancement, and development. It is critical that we develop leaders. So what is lead? it's important to recognize, as we heard earlier, first of all, we have 3 very strong university partnerships. We have those with SMU in our teaching trust, UNT Dallas, and UT Austin. Also, as a reminder, this past year we began training individuals for the potential principalships that could come available, not in March, not in April. We started in October. And that allowed us to hire 91% of the principal vacancies that were taken by individuals that this is their first principalship came through LEAD. So if you're an assistant principal aspiring to the principalship, LEAD is going to be a way to prepare you. It's not the only way to become a principal, but it's certainly going to help. As you can see, 91% of those spots were taken by individuals who went through LEAD in our district. If you are one of those individuals who went through LEAD as an assistant principal or another position and became a principal, would you stand right now so we could recognize you? So in this slide, you can see our 4 levers. We've attracted, we're going to continue to do that. We've prepared, we're going to continue to do that. Now we really want to work on developing. We're all in the seat of the principalship. Now we want to develop our principals. You need our support. Vince Reyes used to say, all our kids need the good stuff. Why teaching trust? Why are we partnering? Because our campuses that have had that teaching trust support have been some of the most successful in our district. So why not all of us to have that teaching trust support? So why a summer intensive? It's critical that we have a focused kickoff. But in order for us to know where we're going, we sometimes have to spend a few minutes looking at where we've been. So starting back in 2014, and into the year that Dr. Hinojosa returned to us, we did have a new ED structure. We certainly were studying Bambrick's work, leadership, leverage leadership. We looked at alignment of curriculum, engagement, were students actively engaged, etc. We then began to have a focus on what are the strategic initiatives that are really moving the needle for students. We also expanded and reinvented our campus instructional leadership teams through the support and help of teaching and learning. And then we started additional teaching trust teams, 1 and 2. This last year, we've really focused on coherence. Teaching and learning has done a phenomenal job of creating those curricula models that allow us to have access so that we can ensure that our curriculum that it is aligned. And what are those structures and systems that we're putting in place? Because we cannot be just at the mercy of an individual person. Our kids have to have a system. We have to develop leaders so that the truth is, if one of us does get hit by a bus, the system continues to provide the supports to our students. Because again, why are we here? We're here for the Jasiras. And every time we get frustrated, or if we're a little confused, maybe we need to take a deep breath and remember the words of inspiration from our students, specifically in this case, Jasira. We have to have coherence. It's going to be a key component, not just in curriculum, but even in our systems. So quickly, again, as if we planned together with Jasira, there's the why. Some of you may remember we did a book study years ago called Switch, The Elephant and the Rider. How many of you may remember that book? You know, it was really, for me, it was eye-opening because sometimes I may be focused as the writer. We've got to get this done. We got to get it accomplished. And sometimes we have to remember that there's a whole lot of set of emotions. My sister's an attorney because she couldn't make it in teaching, so she had to go do something else. And so I tell her that all the time. She doesn't like it, but she says, people don't sue because they're right. They sue because they're mad or they're hurt. How true is that to the work that we do? You think about the mom who raises or lifts a car when the child has been squashed underneath the vehicle. Emotions elicit physiological responses in our bodies. So it's not just about the emotion. It truly is about the connection between our heart and our brains. So let's access, why are we doing this work? Too many organizations start with the what instead of the why. And in Dallas ISD, you show up every day because of the why. And those are the questions you have to ask. Why did you get up this morning? Why did you get here so early? Why are you engaged right now not looking at your phones? Because of the why. So let's revisit just quickly. We will be a premier urban school district. We will be educating students for success. We do it every day, and we're going to get better at it every day. But our own school leadership mission is truly about cultivating leadership so that we inspire. We need to inspire that unwavering commitment to those key words, equity and excellence. Not or, both. Equity and excellence in our schools. So looking at that mission statement, what are the key words? As a matter of fact, let's all read that together. We will cultivate leadership. Call out those key words, anyone. Cultivate. I heard inspiring, equity, unwavering, college. All of those words are important. So let's put our money where our mouth is. Let's say we're going to start with the why. Let's not just talk about it, let's do it. So why is this important? It is about equity and excellence for all. One of my tenets, equity and excellence in education for all students. And all means all. Not some, not the ones that are easy, not the ones that, fit the stereotype of the good student. All means all. And I would remind us that when some of our students are behaving inappropriately, there's a saying I heard. Our students who need the most love ask for it in the most unlovable ways. That has helped me tremendously. See through the behavior to the student, to the child, to the individual. Not at them, with them. So we know the why. We're all convinced now. We all know why we're doing it, don't we? Yes. Oh, we can do better than that. Don't we know why we're doing this? Yes. So now let's talk about the how. You. Strong leaders are the key. We have to have strong leaders. And we have to have a positive culture. So while I may be intimidating sometimes, it only happens on Tuesdays. But anybody that if you spent a few minutes and actually seen me laugh and make a joke and maybe even I hugged somebody, I know that's hard to believe, but it has happened. Can you raise your hand so that people will know who to talk to, that I'm really not Miranda Priestley from, oh, those of you that are laughing know I'm talking about The Devil Wears Prada. You don't think I know what y'all say about me? I mean, you gotta be connected to individuals to know what's said about you. It's okay. The Louis Vuittons are not paid for, so don't worry, okay? I gotta keep working, so you're not getting rid of me anytime soon. Positive culture is imperative. No one wants to come to work where they think all that's gonna happen is you're just gonna get chewed out. I don't know about y'all, but when you really get chewed out, and there's nothing else but that, I don't go home going, "Gee, I am so glad I just got chewed out. I am going to try so much harder tomorrow." That's not what happens. We all get a little defensive. You start comparing well, I don't know why I'm the one that has to deal with that. I don't know why they're coming down so hard on me. What about the school over there? Back to Jasira's talking about the reflection in the 4 eyes. Maybe we sometimes have to spend some time picking the mirror up and focusing on what we do have control over, which at the end of the day, all of us in this room have control over one person, ourselves. And if you want others to interact differently with you, then control how you interact with them. So in leadership, the way you get power is by giving it away. So what does that have to do with this? Well, there's 3 components that we're going to focus on, and one today in particular. You got to have distributive leadership, or distributed or distributive, depending on the grammar experts in the room. But the literature is in both areas. So go ahead and check it out, but you can find it in both. Distributive leadership is the area we're going to focus on today. You can't do it by yourself. How many of you tried your first year as a principal? I did. I thought I could do everything. And I failed miserably. Fortunately, I had a group of teachers that came to my office and closed the door behind them and had one of those, we think you could be a good principal, but you're really sorry right now. And I picked up the mirror instead of getting defensive. And these were veteran teachers, and they probably saved my career. They probably saved my career. But I had to be willing to listen, and I had to have positive suppositions. I had to think they were telling me because they cared about the school, not because they were out to get me. So if we have negative suppositions, they're just out to get me, they're trying to fire me, they're trying to make me look bad, we react back to the heart. Our physical changes are very negative, and it doesn't bring out the best in us. So the other 2 levers are instructional excellence and values-aligned systems and structures. But for today, we are going to be focused on distributive leadership. So this is the key, most impactful lever. And the literature is very clear. There's no limit to what an organization can do when they lift up their leaders. And we are, after all, teachers. Every one of us, we're teachers. We may be teachers of teachers, but at heart, we're teachers. So we should always be thinking about teaching and learning. And you really can't have one without the other. Because if I teach it and no one learns it, did I really teach? They're mutually connected. You cannot have one without the other. But distributive leadership is about how you define the roles of your team. That's why we thought having the assistant principal and the instructional lead coaches was so critical to today. See, leadership isn't a title. Leadership is about action. And there's a whole bunch of people out there who want to be you. There are a lot of people that applied for principalships. There are a lot of people that applied for assistant principalships. A lot of people that wanted to be instructional lead coaches. A lot of people want to be you, but they don't want to do you. Because when they get down and have to roll up their sleeves and do the work, all of a sudden, oh, wait a minute. And so we don't pick the people that want to be leaders. We pick the individuals who want to do leadership. Leadership is an action word. It's not a title. But in order for us to really understand this leadership, we have to make sure that there's clarity in the role and that there's also accountability. Because when everyone's accountable, no one's accountable. We have to be very defined in how we do this. So let's look at a brief example, and I promise I'm almost there. It is about building a team. The Bain research was very, very clear that seldom do members of a team actually feel like they were all working together. It was like, I'm assigned this or I'm assigned that. And I want you to, I know it may be a little hard to see, but if you look at that example there of like, let's say I'm the assistant principal, and in this particular campus, I'm going to be held accountable for the math science team. Okay. What are my department goals? How is the culture of the department that I supervise? What kind of results are we getting on Teacher Excellence Initiative? What kind of coaching am I doing? What kind of feedback? What kind of data analysis do we do? How about the students in those courses? How do they feel about math and science? I use the word feel, again, on purpose. It's not just the grade. How many of you remember going, oh, well, I'm not a math person? I'm going to challenge us not to say that. Not to say that. Because we would never think it would be okay for someone to go, well, I'm not a reading person. You don't hear anybody say that. I'm not a reading person. Because we all read. Well, we all do math. We just don't realize we're doing math. You're problem solving every day. But what kind of culture do we have in that department? Because it does tend to be a stereotype where people think, well, I'm not good at math and science. Well, are we changing that culture? So I want you to think about a football team or a chorus line. I'm trying to find different analogies, but let's go with the football team first. There are different positions on the team, but the team is only successful when the players all work together. So there's a quarterback. So as a principal, you might think of yourself as a quarterback, but you have a running back. You have receivers. You've got an offensive line. You've got a coach. You've got spectators. And let us remember, somebody's watching us every single minute of every single day. Primarily, our students. They see how we interact with each other. They see how we talk to each other. Let's keep that in the forefront. But a team is only successful when we know who does the best thing at each of those roles. So if I do not hold on to the ball very well, I'm probably not going to be the running back. If I don't throw the ball, I'm probably not going to be the quarterback, unless I can pitch it and we're running option. Some of you are like, what is she talking about? Others are like, what? She knows about that? There were no boys in my family. I can't help that. So, but that doesn't mean that I can't be a good teammate. It just means I'm not the quarterback. And guess what? The team has to have an offensive line. The quarterback isn't the only position. And maybe the one that gets a lot of attention. But guess what? The quarterback cannot be successful if that offensive line doesn't give him or her the time to throw the ball or to run the play. Every single player is important. Every member of the leadership team is important. But I want you to think about the list that you see up there and recognize that that's a different list than the list that I used to have when I was an assistant principal. The list I used to have said I was responsible for the 3 B's. Some of you know what I'm talking about. Behinds, because Jasira's here. Behinds, books, and buses. That's what we used to be responsible for. That's a different list that you see up there now. It's not about the compliance. Did I turn in the report? While those things are important, that is not what our students need from us. They need these things from us. They need us to help make their teachers better. Because you do not teach one single student. And yet I'm holding you accountable for how the campus does. So for today, this is you, because you wear a whole bunch of different hats. Some of them are helmets for protection, not for me, but some of you need protection. Some of them are very formal hats. Some of them are more casual. Some are to keep the sun away. Some of them are for style. So today's training is about a typical school. How many of you have a typical school? Nobody should raise their hand. There are no typical schools. We don't want there to be typical schools because we're not like the Stepford Wives of schools. We want every school to have its own personality. So some of you have small schools and you may not have an AP. Well, then you're going to have to be even more creative. Some of you have super large schools. Where's Dwayne Simmons? Where's Dwayne? Where's Dwayne? Stand up, Dwayne. Okay, Dwayne has like 2 rows are taken up by the assistant principals at Skyline. And that's another one of those where like, oh, I wish I had 12 assistant principals. You want to be the principal at Skyline? Yeah, I didn't think so. So, I don't want to be the principal at Skyline, okay? That's a hard job. So, but we have a tendency, humans have a tendency to want to categorize things. That's a human thing. God didn't categorize, we do. We put labels on everything. For organizational purposes, it may make sense. But then we tend to judge categories, and we shouldn't do that. So we have a tendency to go, oh, that's a small school. That's easy. No. How many of you are in small schools and it's hard? Raise your hand. That's right. You got to do more with less. And every parent comes up to the school, and every parent's child was perfect. That's just the nature of that particular job. So it's not better or worse. I ask all of you during this training, please do not look outside and judge. Just look inside and improve. Just look inside and improve. So, see, I'm almost there, Jolie. If we're sitting here or in any of our sessions today or any other day, and we've got our arms crossed and we're telling ourselves, whatever, we are going to learn just as much as we put in. So I ask you to remember the Chinese proverb, the mind is like an umbrella. That instrument only works if it's open. Use our heart to open our minds. And in order to go from one trapeze bar to another, because we all know we're on this bar and we need to get to that bar. So you're swinging on a trapeze bar, if you can envision that. There's only one way you can get to the other bar, and we all need to get to the other bar. There will be no IR schools for the 2019-2020 school year. But in order to get to that bar, what do you have to do with the one you're hanging on? You got to let it go. All change requires loss. In order to move forward, you have to let go of what you're hanging on to. So if you're thinking, I've already been to Teaching Trust, I've done the executive team leaders, I've already done this, I've already done that. Ask yourself, how much more can you learn this time rather than I've already done it? Every time I look at standards, I learn something more when I'm sitting with teaching and learning staff and I'm going through a Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills Statement. I learn something new every time. But we have to be wanting to learn. So I do want to leave you with a couple of thoughts. Excellence and equity in education for all students. Change comes from within. Teaching Trust are valuable partners, but they don't make us change. Change comes from within. This isn't a consultant. There's no other partnership we're going to get that's going to come in and a magic wand is going to be waved and poof, we're changed. And we don't want to change everything. We're doing some really great work. We want to keep the stuff that's working and improve what needs to be improved. So change comes from within. People support what they help to create. Don't go get buy-in, because that means you already made up your mind. Allow them to create with you. People support what they help to create. And lastly, since we're all teachers, the teacher is the program. At the end of the day, it's what supports we provide to our teachers, because they're the ones serving our students. It's our job to help lead that work. So if you think sometimes your executive directors or your deputy chiefs or myself are pushing you, I leave you with a poem from Guillaume Apollinaire, and it goes like this. Come to the edge. We can't. We're afraid. Come to the edge. We can't. We might fall. Come to the edge. They came to the edge, and she pushed them, and they flew. Go fly high today. For why? For our students.